Hello, hope you're keeping well, and welcome to another Irish whiskey review with me, Marty Macaulay. Just noticed something just popped up on my screen here. Hang on. That's okay. See, I can't do this technical stuff. This is all Justin's department. That's why the production values on this do not meet with the Irish whiskey review on a Saturday night, because that's all Justin's stuff. He knows bugger all about whiskey, so we work quite well together. Don't be telling him that. Well, do tell him, who cares? Yeah. So, we're sticking with the American stuff, but mainly because I'm still here. And a while back, we had Todd Leopold from the Leopold Brothers. The Leopold Brothers distillery up in the Mile High City up in Denver, Colorado, on talking about their 3-chambered still that they created, the new 3-chambered still. I say new, there used to be lots of them, but they were kind of done away with and brought back. Now, the 3-chambered still stuff that they make, it sells out in seconds. Like most unusual whiskies these days, very hard to get your hands on stuff, and when you do, you're going to pay for it. So, yeah, but this is their product that they produce on quite a lot of it. They have a huge range of things. If you go onto their website, they have lots of stuff that they've peach whiskies and all this kind of stuff. Loads of stuff. Very busy, very industrious guys. Really, really interesting to talk to. Very knowledgeable. Very, very into the whole craft of whiskey and what it means to be one of the larger distilleries in comparison to lots of the newer, more artisan craft ones that are popping up. They have created quite a buzz about them and about what they've been doing. They have a floor malting, for example, and it's that kind of thing, and they want attention to detail, and so they've created quite a bit of buzz. I suppose in some ways they're probably quite similar to maybe the likes of Bimber or something like that in London. Who created that kind of buzz about them and doing things maybe a bit more traditional or a little bit different. They're not certainly not cutting corners. So that kind of, I suppose that's a good comparison in some ways. In some ways, probably awful. But this is their sour mash whiskey, small batch. Well, I say small batch. It's actually got a barrel number 657, and this is very good in certain respects, but not in others. And why would that be? Well, this is $35, $38, something around that, in and around that mark. So it's not your bargain bucket entry level whiskey. It's a step up, but this is their, setting out to the world, their entry level to these guys. And when you're single barrels, everything's a little bit different. So it's a little bit inconsistent, and that's good in one way, and it's not in another. If you're setting out a premium, one-off, single cask strength bottling that's really appealing to collectors, then that's one thing. When you're setting out small batch, i.e. single cask, it's not, because you don't know exactly. One cask tastes a little bit different than others. That's why people buy these single cask bottlings to make it their own. But what it does is it tells you that they're sending out stuff that they have verified themselves, or they have certainly are willing to put their name to. Now, I have been drinking away at this, so I have. And when we had Todd on, really, really nice guy, chatted away, took lots of very technical questions from people, and answered them no problem. And I think in some ways he blew the mind off some of the guys that were watching, just how knowledgeable he was. Now, lots of people can distill. It's not a difficult thing to do Like most things, it's not difficult to do, it's just hard to get right. So whenever you had someone as knowledgeable as him, and who has studied and has reimagined and brought new light on something that's old, good guy, good man. Now, this one of the things about this is again is a sour mash. What they do is they do open fermentation, which is it's getting more common certainly for the crafty guys. Basically, what you do is if you have open fermentation, that allows little wild yeasts again an invariable, so you're not 100% sure what it's going to taste like. You have a fairly good idea, but little inconsistencies, that's going to lead to an end product that's slightly different. And it's done in Oregon pine. Oregon pine, I one time was saying about, I said to Matt Mackay at Bimber about getting flavour in, and I think what he meant was the flavour coming off the Oregon pine. No, it's the little indentations in the wood allow bacteria and different flavour creators into your fermentation, which then fermentation's where everything happens really in your spirit. When you run it through a still, basically you're just cutting out the impurities, or you're cutting out, you're refining it and taking it down. What you're wanting to carry on through is really always created in your fermentation. So it's a long, slow fermentation at a cold temperature. Now it doesn't give you time, because I get the impression that there's no set limit for them. Everything's done per batch all the way through, and they're that kind of guys. They're quite nerdy, I suppose. You want to be, don't want to be rude about the thing, but well, you know what I mean. So on the bottle, you're not getting a huge amount of information on the bottle. It's really quite plain. Small batch, distilled by Leopold Brothers in Denver, Colorado. I just dawned on me. I'm recording this on the 100th anniversary of the publication of Ulysses, Leopold Bloom. That just popped in. Now I know this will not be uploaded. It'll not go out until a bit later, but that's a bit freaky. I didn't mean to. Yeah, there you go. Would that be classified as sort of normative determinism? I don't know. There you go. But anyway, yeah. So there's health and safety, Leopold Brothers on the front, small batch, pot stilled from open fermentation, sour mash, barrel number 657, 43% by volume, 750ml bottle. Now, another thing that they do slightly different than other people, it's barreled. It's put in a barrel at a pre-prohibition standard of 98 proof or 49% ABV, much lower than normal. Normally it's 60, 63 or thereabouts. It gets barreled at, but they've decided to do it a bit lower. Yeah. Now, very baked, pastry, apple turnover, slightly sugary. A couple of different types of sugar actually. It's got a sort of castery sugar and a darker sugar, like a demerara or something like that. There's a vegetable note there, kind of hard to place actually, but it's a vegetable note. It's maybe like a type of cut grass or maybe a sort of cabbagey note. It's kind of hard to place. Yeah, it's a note that's like chopped cabbage, not cooked. You know when you're chopping cabbage and I think it's avoid cabbage and chopping it. It's that kind of vegetal note. So cut grass, maybe little elements of cut hay in it as well. I know they're two different notes, but it's a similar kind of thing. And along with that sort of baked straw, nose is okay. It's not fabulous. There's a kind of a hodgepodge there, and it doesn't necessarily balance all that well. Yeah, that kind of grass, kind of chopped vegetables, chopped fresh, cabbagey. No, I don't mean cooked cabbage. Don't fall into that. It's not that. No, it's that when you're chopping and that green fresh. It's not peas, but it's in that. It's in that kind of ballpark. Yeah. Yeah, kind of baked, cut, fresh, and it's, if I'm honest, it's not that appealing. It kind of jumps about a couple of different places. Um, Leopold Brothers they use local grains to go in, and everything's pretty much done as local, as crafty as possible. Um, so the malting floors, open fermentation, Colorado grains, slow fermentations, sour mash. So the sour mash is put into, bit from the day before, put into the next mash. It helps to regulate bacteria. It helps to promote and bring forth the sort of environment that the ecology that the yeast needs. But it's to give it esters normally is what you want, and this doesn't hit me as having that kind of thing. The esters come through as that, rather than maybe fruity, they're kind of more vegetal. More, yeah, cut grass, freshly chopped vegetable type. Again, it's more fruity on the palate than on the nose. It comes through as berried fruit, quite fresh fruit. And what I mean by that is kind of your strawberries. There are sort of grape notes to it, probably more estery than the nose would have suggested. In the finish, there's a slight it's a kind of off wood note that doesn't really work that well, if I'm totally honest, coming through. Down the side of my tongue, it's quite woody, and then in the middle of my tongue, I'm kind of feeling that it's like nutshells, like hazelnut shell reminiscent. It's not actually hazelnuts there a bit on the finish, but it comes as an afterthought. It comes a little bit later on. The shell it's hazelnut, but it's not kind of the hazelnut bit you want. I have obviously been drinking away at this. I've had this for basically since I got here. As soon as I saw it, I was really excited. And if I'm honest, it's kind of let me down on that little bit. The label is really quite plain. There's not the guys, when you talk to them, when you read what they do, they're extremely craft driven. They're extremely pernickety, extremely driven by what it is. I'm putting a little drop in this. But there's no age statement on this. There's no real information on it. When you go on the website, the information there is quite lacking, which doesn't marry up that well with what they do. And I wish they would sort of, what they're doing ticks lots and lots and lots of boxes, but when it comes back to the customer, it's not really filtering down through, and that's a shame because these guys are exciting. They are causing a stir, and I'd really, really love to get my hands on a bottle of their 3-chamber stuff, but it's like hen's teeth, you can't get it. I put a little bit of water in this, and it really hasn't changed anything very much at all. You saw me putting water in that. It genuinely hasn't really changed any of the taste at all. Maybe made it slightly fresher, which I didn't really want. So yeah, don't put water in it. 43%. Anyway, if I have to rate it, there's people out here who probably think it's quite nice. Actually, the water has changed it a little bit. Way back on the finish, there's a little buttery note that wasn't there earlier on. I'll give it a 6 out of 10. It's palatable enough, but it's not great. And I know that these guys have loads of good stuff coming, and loads of good stuff that they would really prefer, really like. And honestly, I wish them every success, but I don't think this is hitting the mark for me, if I'm honest. Anyway, for more whiskey news, whiskey, a bit of crack, a bit of laugh, join me and Justin on a Saturday night to talk all things whiskey and weird and wonderful stuff. We're not whiskey, and everybody talks about, fermentation times and all this kind of stuff and all that. No, we try and take ourselves a bit light-hearted. And join in, comment, come on, tell us stuff and poke fun at me and Justin. We're not thin-skinned, we don't mind it in the slightest. So do come along and let us know. So take care, guys, and I will hopefully see you again soon. Slàinte, take care.